Alrighty, so it looks like today we're going to be talking about what kind of weapons we want to bring into a zombie apocalypse. So I know.
So we're gonna just set the parameters. So anyone that wants to jump in on the comments or anything else, try to stick to the same parameters of this. We can take 5 weapons each from that originated in games, so they have to originate in games. So for anyone that says, "Oh, let's just take in like an Iron Man suit or Captain America shield or something," didn't originate in a game, so this is not going to fit. So we can take 5 weapons, one of which will have to be long range. And at least 1 each of the melee and close range. But other than that, there's no rule. So you could have 1 like long range weapon and 4 like melee, like close range weapons if you want, basically.
Yeah, so just any combination of the two, as long as you at least have 1 of each, I suppose, is the easiest way.
Exactly right. So I guess that let's talk about maybe long range weapons we'd want to take with us.
Yeah, why. I'll let you start off with that if you'd like, because I'm sure you've got quite an interesting one.
So the first, I've actually got 2. I'm going to take 2 long range. Well, technically more, but anyway, I'm going to start with a futuristic weapon, and I'm going to assume that I can recharge this one whenever I need to. But I'm taking the collector particle rifle from Mass Effect 2.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm doing that is because basically it's like as long as you have energy in it, it's like an unbroken line of laser that basically cuts through pretty much anything. So it will be literally like cutting through a horde of zombies like a knife through butter. It's a fantastic weapon. One that essentially felt like a cheat code when using it on Mass Effect 2. So I think it would be excellent for just ripping through some zombies.
Yeah, I feel like that's the kind of weapon where if it is one of those zombie apocalypses where for whatever reason there's like the big boomer ones or the exploding ones or just any of the ones that aren't a standard like walking zombie, that'll be absolutely insane. Like they're no threat to you if you have that.
Yeah, exactly. Any kind of I mean, we could even be dealing with zombies from other species as well. Like big elephant zombies if necessary.
Yeah, who knows?
Exactly. How about you?
So my long range one again. You might not necessarily consider it a weapon, but the abilities that I can use with it would be absolutely amazing. So I've picked the portal gun as my long-range weapon of choice, assuming it can be used on any surface rather than just the specific ones in the games. And I just think it would be such an interesting way to either get myself away from zombies at any point, get them away from me by dropping them through a portal, or just shooting them with it and having their arm come off or something. Like I can basically do whatever I want to get away from them. So that was my pick for sure.
Yeah, I can see the use of that being quite good. Even escaping potentially.
Yeah, exactly.
From a horde could be good, I guess. I'm not sure if I would count that at the moment as a weapon. My opinion is that it's not. It's a tool. But I mean, I wasn't a big player of the Portal games, but I know you can't really kill something with it, if that makes sense, or physically attack it. You can only just move something through a portal. That's it.
Yeah,
really.
Which I would still be able to use in a weapon sort of sense, because if there's a horde, I could just drop them through it, have them, and they're not too smart. So if I put the portal, down in a doorway, for example, and then put the exit like back out the other side, they'll just keep walking in and out, like unable to get to me. So I guess it just depends on the scenario. But I thought that would be an interesting pick, so that's the one I went for my primary long range weapon.
Definitely. Okay. Have you got any other long range weapons in your pick?
I don't, but I do have a mid range one, which I would honestly say counts as pretty much a long range weapon too.
Okay.
If you want me to go into that one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so my mid-range pick, which again, as I said, can go pretty much any effective range. It could be close, it could be far, but I'd say far in terms of a zombie apocalypse, you wouldn't be able to snipe with it. Let's just put it that way. So mine is the Blades of Chaos from my favorite game series,
Right.
God of War. I feel like the fire effect on them would just be absolutely overpowered in a zombie apocalypse. Zombies tend to be, their weakness tends to revolve around like either sunlight or like sound or whatever, but usually sunlight is one of them. And so with the fire of the Blades of Chaos, I feel like I'd just be able to cut through a horde like butter, basically. As long as I can swing them around like Kratos can, I don't even really need to get too much strength behind them, since the fire will do all the work. So that was my primary pick for mid-range anyways. But I feel like it has many, many possible uses, and I couldn't leave it out.
And you'll obviously be sharpening them up and upgrading them in our Forge before you go.
Of course, I know exactly how to upgrade them, so...
I'm not sure if your workmanship's as good as mine.
I'd say mine's better, but hey.
Anyway, okay. So I have also another long range / mid range, but this is actually a cheat. This is actually a long range and a close range all in one, because it's a double weapon, and it's the Chainsaw Lancer from Gears of War.
Oh yeah.
The reason being is that it's a pretty good assault rifle as is. Quite lightweight and good fire rate. It's not burst. It's just free flow, essentially fire, which is great. But if it does run out of ammo, or zombies get too close, you can, instead of using it like it's not a bayonet on the end, it's a chainsaw that you just rev up and use the end of the gun as a way to saw the crap out of zombies, which is pretty satisfying, to be honest.
Yeah, it does sound like a pretty solid weapon for the apocalypse, actually, since a lot of the time they'll just be walking right into that chainsaw at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the use of it in the Gears of War games on the Locust is pretty stunning, as something quite satisfying about flanking a group of enemies and kind of taking them by surprise with a chainsaw up the rectum. It's pretty awesome.
Yep. Well, on to possibly the next pick. Do you have any melee options, like specifically close range, or are all of yours sort of mid to close to long range mix-ups?
Look, I have a pretty close range choice here, which is essentially the plasma cutter from Dead Space series. The reason being is that it's perfect for taking out limbs or probably taking off zombie heads. At a pretty close range. It's pretty flexible. Actually reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever seen Blade Trinity. It's more vampires than zombies, but I don't know if you ever saw that one. The one with like Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel.
Oh yeah, with the vampire dog and whatnot.
Yeah, and Triple H from whatever. Yeah, so Jessica Biel's character actually carried a very kind of a similar style like plasma cutter. It wasn't plasma, it was like whatever it was, UV light, but it essentially was this like arc with like a line of whatever through the middle, and you would just use it to just melt enemies, basically. It's fantastic. And it's one of those ones where you just take it out when you need to, if all else fails, essentially. So yeah, that's my pick as a close. That's one of my picks as a close-up weapon.
Yeah, that honestly sounds like a fantastic option, especially since, as I said before, like fire tends to be a common weakness for zombies. So hopefully, if that is the weakness of the zombies we have to deal with, it's a hard counter, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
So moving on to my melee pick, or at least one of them, my first and primary one would be Yoshimitsu's Demon Sword from the Tekken series and also Soul Calibur series. As a sword itself, obviously, it's pretty cool, but in the hands of a standard human, it's not insane, but it has a lot of utility. So I guess it's partially because Yoshimitsu, or at least in the later games, is sort of like robotic, I guess. But it seems like even when he wasn't robotic, he was able to spin it around so fast that he could fly with it and do insane things like stand on it like a flea. So I feel
Yeah.
like if that's power that the sword grants me, then it's an absolute like must-have as a close-range weapon because I could just turn it into a propeller and helicopter out of the fight if I need to.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And of course, it's not going to be effective. So I don't know about some of the suggestions in lore is that it's got the power or something of the all the souls of its vanquished foes or something, but
Yeah,
not sure if that would actually be affected by zombies given that they're already dead.
yeah. Who knows? Maybe it's a sort of catch-22 scenario where you can't get more souls to make it more powerful because they're already dead. Who knows?
It's possible. Yeah, it's definitely possible. But I mean, it's already got its power, so yeah, I think that's definitely a good choice, and one that going back years, was something that I would try and desperately avoid, frantically try to get away from a sword attack from Yoshimitsu.
Yeah, the individual target damage is pretty insane, and I think often it comes with sort of like a poison effect. So it could be one of those things where all I really need to do is hit them with one proper nick, and it's over for them. Although again, depending on the type of zombies, that might not actually affect them at all.
Mm, mm.
But either way,
Okay.
it would be an interesting pick.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Oh, well, I'll stick with another weapon for my next pick that we know all about and can sharpen and upgrade, and that's Kratos' Leviathan axe from the most recent God of War. To be honest, I was very surprised going into that game. I wasn't sure how they would portray the axe in the game, and it actually did very, very well. To me, it did not feel like essentially a Mjolnir copy. It didn't actually feel like that whilst using it. I think it's a very versatile axe. I mean, I know it's more ice or frost rather than fire in terms of its sort of what it's embossed or imbued with or whatever. But I mean, for me, I just think this is this amazing axe that you can just use as an axe, or you can kind of throw it to that kind of mid distance and call it back or wherever you are. So you basically know that whatever happens, no matter what ammo happens or what situation you're in, you still do have a weapon that you can call to your hand at any time, basically. And it will, if you're stuck in the middle of a horde, you call it back to you, it will rip through zombies on its way back to your hand, which is, I think, a fantastic failsafe too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there was a few times where, as Kratos got new abilities and whatnot with the axe, he could even sort of throw it in an arc around himself, so it could, clear some space around you, and then call it back again, and then, give you even more options. So yeah, I feel like that's an absolutely almost must-have in a zombie apocalypse if you get the choice.
Yeah, a great way to down joggers.
Oh, definitely. And it's my greatest work.
For sure. Well, I'm not sure. I think I put that in motion.
Yeah, you keep telling yourself that.
Shoddy workmanship.
Anyhow, on to my next one, which is also a melee one, and also one that kind of doesn't rely on ammo as such, although in my case it is a very close range melee one. I picked the Hidden Blade from Assassin's Creed, and the reason being is because you always see in these zombie apocalypse type scenarios that somebody will get disarmed somehow, they'll not have access to their gun or whatever. If you've got hidden blades permanently strapped to your wrist, there's almost no chance of you failing to be able to defend yourself at the very least against one or two zombies. Of course, in a horde scenario, if you get completely overrun, they're not really going to save you there, but I definitely think it's a almost must-have just to keep myself protected in case anything does go awry.
Yeah, absolutely. You're using the double hidden blades?
Yeah,
Are you,
specifically the double hidden blades, I'd say, but either one. But I
okay.
definitely feel like double would be helpful in case one arm gets bitten and I have to amputate or something. You've always got the other.
Yeah. Definitely. So we've gone through a few choices now. I'm kind of umming and ahhing between my last kind of one of my last choices here. I think where I'm wearing is another melee weapon. I mean, we could talk about things like flamethrowers and sticky bombs and like probably a whole heap of stuff that's come out of GTA. But For me, they're not always the most useful in a like zombie apocalypse, because sometimes you want some nice and quiet to sort of take out some enemies. Um, you know.
Yeah, and I feel like particularly with the sticky bomb, for example, sticking that to a zombie and detonating it might not be the greatest idea if if they're able to jump or run to you fast enough. You might be putting yourself in more danger. So yeah, plus the noise they'll make might draw, a full horde to your location. Might not be a good idea.
So on that note, I'm ignoring between. This is going to be my final pick. I'm ignoring between the Sword of Aeon / Avos tier from Fable Lost Chapters. In the sense of it's just like, and the reason why and another option which I'm actually I think I'm going to go for, which I'll say in a second. But the reason why I'm ignoring between picking one of those is, first of all, how iconic they are, especially for me and my gaming. But also, you're talking about these swords that are basically as powerful, if not more so, than great swords, but single hand wield because they're light.
Yeah, light enough to hold in the one hand.
Correct, and they constantly regenerate your health whilst you're holding them, so you'll never succumb. To that. Like, I don't know again how the infections might work, but I think that in theory you can never get infected whilst wielding this weapon. However, I've decided that I'm going to do a different pick, which is the Wabberjack from the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
Oh yeah, okay, I see where you're going here.
Yeah, yes, because so basically, for those of you that aren't aware, the Wabberjack can cast fire, ice, or lightning attacks, all of which are useful, but it can also transform targets into whatever, like chicken or cheese or a mud crab, for example. Then what you could do